Let's talk money. We're going to go to Mary Holm now. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Jesse.
Thanks for your patience. Thanks for your beautiful Zoom line. You're sounding loud and clear, and you've got some pretty shocking survey results for us today.
Yeah, look, I mean, there are lots and lots of surveys on how people are doing financially coming out all the time, and a lot of them are kind of, you think, oh, yeah, that's what I expected. But this one by Canstar, which is an online ratings firm, they came up with some results that I was actually a little bit shocked by.
Yeah.
One of them, 58% of New Zealanders spend more than they earn. Now, I was thinking later on, if that includes people who are retired, then it's fine if you spend more than you earn when you're retired. You know, that's sort of part of the idea. But they said 65% of people under 40 do spend more than they earn. So that's nearly 2/3 of people under 40 are spending more than they earn. And I thought, oh, help, that's a real worry, I think. It took me back. A while back, I read an article that I cut out because I couldn't get past this quote from a young woman who said, I wanted to have the best car, the best TV, and now I'm like, why? I wish I didn't care what other people think of me. And I thought, yes, I think quite a lot of spending might result from people worrying about what other people think of them. So they feel they have to buy clothes, cars, better houses, better TVs, etc. And you know, if that's getting to the point that people are spending more than they earn, in order to do that, it's kind of backwards sort of thinking, I reckon.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I mean, there will be plenty of people who just aren't making enough to, in the old language, cover their nut, and not enough to pay for the essentials, and that's probably a separate conversation. But what you're talking about is people who just have eyes bigger than their wallets and who are unnecessarily, shall we say, spending more than they earn.
Yeah, look, I mean, when we're looking at 58% of all New Zealanders and nearly 2/3 of people under 40, those not a lot of those people can be saying, look, I'm absolutely scraping the bottom of the barrel. There's not that much poverty in New Zealand. I know there are people, and there'll be people listening who are or know people who really, really are scraping around to eat well and that sort of thing. But I think there must be a lot of people who are spending because the other day I saw an ad that said, you deserve it. And you hear that line quite often, or because you're worth it. And I remember when I very first saw those lines and ads, and I thought, perhaps I am. But when you look at that line, it's such a powerful line to people. Treat yourself. And there's nothing wrong with treating yourself to some extent, but if you're actually spending more than you're earning, you're going to get yourself into trouble. One tip I have for people on if you're like in that sort of situation is imagine you had a pay cut. Imagine you lost your job and the only job you could get was 10 or 20% lower, or $100 or $200 less a week. You would have to manage on that lower money. So many people can manage on less, on less money than they. Well, if they're spending more than they're earning, they've got to be able to manage on spending less. It seems to me.
What happens when you spend more than you earn? You get in debt, and that that very popular word in 2022, it becomes unsustainable, right? You can't do that forever.
No, it's in fact another finding of the survey was, and they were looking at debt, not including mortgages. So, a heck of a lot of people have got mortgages, and that's basically good debt. But, excuse me a minute, but excluding mortgages, only 45% of the New Zealanders surveyed are debt-free. So 55% have got car loans, personal loans, credit cards, student loans, buy now, pay later debt. I'm assuming with credit cards, they're only looking at people who aren't paying off their credit card regularly, because if they're including them, that's a whole different thing, because that's fine. You know, if you're paying it off every month, then no worries. But the survey found buy now, pay later was more likely to be younger people, which is not surprising, and they tended to be spending it on clothes and shoes, and which suggests it's not essential spending, really. I mean, I don't think that many people are so short of clothes and shoes that they have to, you know, buy yet one more lot.
Yeah.
The average debt was $23,000.
Holy moly.
People in their 30s, and Aucklanders it was $34,000. So
that's excluding mortgages.
Yes.
And that's the average.
Yes, yeah. And so, you know, half the people have got even bigger debts than that. $34,000, that's a third of $100,000, you know, it's big money. They also asked people how they handled repayments, and they asked, do you always miss repayments? An interesting result on that. 10% of women said yes, and 29% of men said yes.
Oh.
So 3 times as many men are missing their mortgage, their debt repayments. And the one thing that particularly worried me about all this was that they are not worried. Only a third of the people said they were worried about their finances, and 85% of the people with debt said they think it's manageable. And I thought, well, no, if you've got thousands of dollars of debt, it's not really manageable. I mean, unusual circumstances, yes, but, and in fact, people have been caught by COVID, of course. That was another thing the survey found, that 38% said they were worse off because of it. 22% better off because of it, which is interesting. But so if you're in unusual circumstances, if you lose your job and you have to run up some debt while you're finding a new job, that's one thing. But if you're in a steady situation and you've got thousands and thousands of dollars of debt, the thing about that is, and you and I have talked about this quite a few times, that those people are paying high interest on those sort of debts, and they're going to end up way worse off in retirement. It's a habit that means people end up with maybe a couple of $100,000 less to spend and have fun in retirement. It's just such a horrible habit to get into, to be paying that high interest.
Yeah, there's all sorts of interesting stats in here, and none of it's particularly good news. I was interested in the one about savings as well.
Yes, nearly a quarter of people don't save anything. So that's presumably that must include KiwiSaver. Some of them are probably in KiwiSaver, but a big chunk of people in KiwiSaver are not regularly contributing. They're signed up, but they're not putting money in at this stage. They're on a saving suspension, or they're off work, or for whatever reason. And that's a real pity. If you're not keeping on putting that money into KiwiSaver and getting the government contributions coming in, that's just really a pity. But if people aren't saving anything, one tip is to start out really small. Just set up perhaps a transfer out of your bank account into a savings account of maybe $10 a week or $20 a week. Start with an amount you're not really even going to notice. And then, maybe 3 months down the track, you increase the amount, and every 3 months you increase it, or set yourself some sort of goal like that, because doing it gradually like that can really make it a lot easier for people to stick to the plan. And if you automatically transfer the money from one account to another, which you should be able to set up with your bank, then after a while you just don't really notice it happening. But yeah.
Mary, Dennis has got in touch, and
yes.
He's sort of tongue-in-cheek here, but I'm going to read you his text. He says young people, the people that you're talking about, are at, as he puts it, mating age, and appearance is perceived as critical at that age. To some extent, from a Darwinian perspective, it's understandable.
Yes.
You're trying to look as good as you possibly can so you can attract a partner and further your own genetic material, Mary. So maybe this stuff is essential, the shoes and the clothes.
Yes. for the procreation of the species.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, look, that's a really good point. I think young people do care more about their looks. Yeah, well, yes. I mean, I think and we don't want to just be picking only on young people because they're, the statistics we've been reading, most of them apply to the whole population. But you don't have to spend a whole lot on looking good, though, do you? I mean, do your friends really, and your would-be boyfriend or girlfriend, really judge you by whether you've got a new top on tonight, and that every weekend you've got new clothes to wear?
Don't know, it's a long time since I've been in the game, Mary, I've got to say.
Yeah, same here. But I just challenge people to think a little bit more and about if they're really spending money to impress others. Does it really impress other people, or does it make them jealous?
I think the sexiest thing is being financially responsible, personally, Mary.
Oh, Jesse, I'm worried about you. I don't think that's probably particularly sexy, but it does make for feeling a bit more content with your life, and that probably makes you more likely to be a fun person to be around.
Yeah, and you sleep better.
and you sleep better, and that all definitely makes you more attractive if that's what we're talking about here.
Okay, but, I've let you be sidelined, and anything to share, Mary, before we leave? Anything else from this Canstar Consumer Pulse report?
There was just one other number that was interesting. 2/3 of people don't have enough money put away to survive for 2 months. And that's a worry too. I mean, I think people really do want to be just putting a little bit aside. Once again, start at $10 a week maybe, but to have some rainy day money. I mean, I don't really understand how people can be really relaxed and happy in their lives if they haven't got some of these sort of financial backups set up for them. So the messages, I suppose, think hard about your financial situation, your debt and your rate of spending, and is this really making life better for you? And if not, try some simple one step at a time changes, really.
Love it, Mary. Thank you so much. Great session.
Thanks, Jesse.
Personal finance expert Mary Holm on some new statistics about New Zealand's spending, saving and earning habits.